Meeting to order. I remind everyone the city of Perry staff core values, strong work. Be oriented, shows professionalism and integrity. It's a team player, handful, and it's good steward. And roll call, please.
Waller,
Yes.
Wally, Scott, Klein. Yes.
Okay, next up is approval of the meeting agenda. Have motion, please.
Okay.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Kelly,
Yes.
Klein. Yes. Waller.
Yes.
Next up is approval of the consent agenda. It's the minutes of the July 21st, 2025 regular city council meeting, payments for contract services. None this time, and the claims register and financials of $394,084, and we have no licenses and permits, so not a lot on it this time. A motion, please.
I make a motion, we approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Klein. Yes. Waller,
Yes.
Kelly.
Yes.
City administrators report. Sven.
Two things. First, we are still working on the RISE grant application. Had a good meeting last week about the Willis and 141 intersection with DOT to get their feedback from the intersection study. So we'll be wrapping up that application and getting that in. I believe on the August 18th council agenda, there will be the consideration of the formal approval for that application where we'll have a better figure with the anticipated cost and some preliminary designs and sketches. So we'll be having that at the next meeting. And then just kind of a heads up, bright and early tomorrow morning, I'm headed off to the Brownfield conference through the week, but I will be available through text, email, and phone calls if you let me know you're gonna call and I can step out. So just a little heads up on that, but other than that, any questions for me?
A good meeting.
So all of the EPA brownfield programs, so we currently have a brownfield assessment and planning grant. So
Cover that grant. There are funds for somebody to attend the Brownfield conference during that grant period.
Thanks, Sven. Mayor and council comments. Wanted to thank the chamber for putting on a nice golf tournament last Friday. It was well attended and success, and also attended the Perry Little League's tournament on Saturday. So I did more golf last Friday and Saturday than I had the 3 weeks before that. So, but it was, both of them were really fun, and I think they raised a bit of money for both those organizations. So thanks to them. Any council comments?
Yeah, we did both of those. It was also, it was great. Little League made a lot of money. We golfed with a young man. So Perry Little League is gonna be safe this year.
All right.
Also, I talked to Chief Archer about the 3 homes we had here in Perry the last 18 months. And people are concerned about it. And he said that he would discuss it with us today, hopefully. Thank you, Chief Archer. Speed.
Sorry, Joe, did you say speeding or homes?
Speeding, that
Oh, okay, I
homes that
thought
were
you
hit.
said 3 homes or,
3 homes that have been hit by speeding cars, Iowa Street, Willis, and Sunflower last 18 months. And people are concerned about the speeding in residential areas, and they would like to understand what we are doing about it.
Anything else? Okay, next up is open forum. Speakers are asked to step to the microphone, state their name and address for the record, and they'll be given 3 minutes for the council. Please.
On the north edge of Perry. And I discussed this earlier with Joe, and he suggested
encouraged me to be here to share this accident I had with you. The accident occurred, I was turning into my driveway. I was in the middle lane, had my blinkers on, but that didn't matter. I was turning into the driveway, and then all of a sudden, from the east, out of the sky comes a crop sprayer and douses our car with a fungicide. It was a thick foamy-like material, and I had to turn the wipers on to turn into my drive. We were in the car, it was sealed up, the air conditioning was on, so we didn't get any of that stuff on us. But suppose I was mowing, or my wife was working in the garden, or the little kids next door were out playing. It took me a while to find out who the spray company was. I had to, I talked to Dallas County Sheriff. I'm still waiting for a phone call back. I talked to Chief Archer, and he came out and looked at the car and took pictures and gave me some ideas as to how to pursue this. I went to the Perry Airport. I went to Tri-County Ag out on the east side of town, and found out finally it was an airline company, SOTT, S-O-T-T, aerial spray in Jefferson, Iowa. So I called Mr. SOTT to give my complaint. And I told him what happened when the accident occurred and what I had to do. But the thing that really surprised me was his reaction to my complaint. This is a time when people are concerned about pollution of the water, when we're concerned about these farm chemicals causing various kinds of illnesses. And he was rather, I was surprised by his complaint. And he gave me some reasons or some excuses, which I thought were pretty lame. He said he wasn't the pilot. Well, he owned the company. He said maybe the pilot had to pull up real quick to avoid hitting trees and did not have time to turn off the spray. Or then he said he had a poor aerial map of the area and did not realize there were so many houses close by. He said, apparently, I think Mr. Grubbs, farmer that hired him, had spoken to him because he was kind of upset. Mr. SOTT was. He said he wouldn't spray those fields in the future, and I hope you bring that into account. He said, our company is really busy spraying. We've got 60,000 acres to spray, and I have to take my time to take telephone calls from people like you. He offered no apology. He didn't even offer to give me a car wash. And so I pursued this further, and I filed a complaint with the Department of Agriculture. But what I would like the city to do is to pass an ordinance or do something to outlaw or this aerial spraying in the city limits. It has happened before, spraying in my edge of town. So that is what I wanted to tell you, and thank you. And I've got some copies of my letter that I sent to Mr. SOTT and sent it to the Department of Agriculture as well.
Ray, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
The years you've been out there, has this ever happened before?
Well, not to my knowledge, Joe. I mean, you can frequently see airplanes. You can frequently see airplanes flying and spraying because, we've got the Perry Airport and a lot of fields around. But to my knowledge, I've never been, I've not been sprayed before. I don't know anybody that has.
Did Mr. SOTT offer you any MSDS on this?
No,
The effects
no.
of it or
No.
the chemical?
Well,
What-
I
what-
found out chemical. I went out to Tri-County Ag, and they said, well, it's probably a fungicide because that's what all the farmers are spraying on beans now. But I did not get an exact analysis of what the chemical was. Do you need another one of those, Sean? I got one left. So that's my complaint. I hope you take this into account. It was an accident that should not have happened. And I think it's something we can prevent in the future. Is, yeah, I wasn't injured. I don't want any, I'm not gonna sue him. I don't want any money. I wouldn't take a car wash, but, I just think it's something we should be aware of and not let happen again. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Yes, do you, which grub farm is it? Who?
I believe it's, Steve. Scott.
Scott.
Excuse me. Yeah,
Okay.
it's Scott.
Horses in the past year, so.
I'm sorry. I didn't get your question.
I said, is this plane, was this a helicopter?
No, it was a yellow airplane. I was asked 2 times, did you get the tail number of the plane? Well, no, number 1, I couldn't see, and number 2, I wasn't worried about the number of the airplane. I was concerned about what happened. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Ray. Lindsay, you want to go?
Yes, please. Lindsay Pasuti, representing the Perry Chamber of Commerce, residing at 1119 Warford Street. I just wanted to come on and express thanks tonight to the council members and city employees for participating in the Chamber Open Golf outing last Friday, as you all mentioned earlier. This was a very successful fundraiser hosted by the Chamber Foundation in support of the Perry Chamber of Commerce as a fundraiser, just to offset expenses related to community events. So just really appreciate the support of council members, city employees, and lots of businesses in town to help make that a success so that we can continue to do great things in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Okay, anyone else?
Speaking of the forum,
That in mind, that
Yeah.
talking about.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so Jim Archer, Chief of Police. There have been some concerns about, obviously when people drive their cars through houses. Just to explain a little bit about those 3 incidences, 2 of those happened after midnight. The first one that we had that occurred on, Iowa Street and 5th Street. That individual was impaired, intoxicated. Driving an extremely high rate of speed, but it was, yeah, I don't remember exact time that happened, but it was after midnight. The most recent one we had was also an individual that was impaired from, alcohol, which actually happened after midnight as well. And then the one that happened in between there on Willis, that was a medical issue. So that individual we believe that he had some sort of seizure when that occurred. That wasn't had anything to do with being impaired. But we do obviously get complaints of speeders. We hear about those ones that are quite vocal, especially the one, down here on West 5th. We get a lot of complaints down there. We get complaints up on Park Street, the east side of Willis. It just depends on what neighborhood you live in. Everybody thinks their street is a raceway, which we try to enforce as much of the speed laws as we can. We will be moving our speed trailer here soon, since Little League and softball is kind of done in the Pat T. Park area, so that trailer will be getting moved to a different area around town. We also have another portable speed sign that's out on Willis right at the moment, and that'll probably be moved here. We do have school coming up, so I've kind of informed my officers that we really need to be enforcing those speeding violations and that sort of thing within the city limits as much as we can. So that's kind of what we're doing at this point. I don't know if that really answers your question or not, but
I think that answered most of the concerns of the people, because the elderly lady that was over on the east side was out walking, and she experienced a lot of speeding cars, and she was concerned. And she attributed the 3 houses that people just being too relaxed and going too fast within the city limits. And they just want to know what you want to do about it and
Yeah.
appreciate it.
Yeah, so we definitely, we're about out of our special traffic grant that we get from the state. That comes up, at the end of September. But we did a special project with the sheriff's office. We have to do multi-agency. We have to do 2 multi-agency projects. And that occurred here a while back. Last month, I think. We have another one that's coming up here soon. And then that grant takes over again in October. So we'll have more grant hours for our officers to go out and just focus on traffic enforcement, which is very helpful. Then those officers aren't getting called away on calls and that kind of thing. They can focus their whole effort on that. And they've all been instructed that when you're working traffic grant, that you will be issuing citations, and that's really what the state wants as well. They don't want a bunch of warnings issued when you're out and paid time and a half to enforce those laws. So that's kind of a standing rule at the police department, that you're issuing tickets when you're working grant. But we will continue to focus on that, and you know, that's always a priority for us, is to keep those violations inside their city limits kind of at bay.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chief,
Yeah.
just out of curiosity, doesn't really have any bearing. What would you do?
One of them was, I think like 18 or 19, and the other one was like early 20s.
So younger.
Yeah, they were both very young, and they were going quite fast.
Sure.
They were, in both cases, they're extremely lucky.
I'm sure that you've heard from my mother on Iowa Street. She thinks everybody on Iowa Street is doing 80.
Iowa Street is another one that we get lots of concerns on as well. Yeah, so it does make it a little bit difficult with some of the ways our parking and is set up in the city. It's kind of hard to sit on some of those streets. Like Park Street's pretty hard to run radar the proper way and be able to catch those people, but we try our best. So yeah.
And from the tour that you gave me on the traffic sign, the machine, that collects data, right?
It sure does. Yeah.
Not license plates, it just collects the time and the date that the car was speeding.
And the speed. Yes.
And then you take that and you go back and you sit there. Is that how that works?
Yeah, we can go back and like see, what time of day the most of the violations occurred and what the top speed was and that kind of thing. Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Yep.
Do we have a tally per month of how many speeding citations we give out in the city?
I could probably get you that. I don't know it off the
Just
top of my
again,
head. But
again,
sure.
curiosity. I don't know
Yeah.
how much bearing that has on things, but
Yeah,
some of these people that are making complaints might like to know those numbers. If that's-
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I just wanted to update the council. We are currently going through several weeks of training on the new. So the next your listing will look very different. And the paper that you sign, because it'll be out of the new system. So accounts payable is live in the new system. And we're plucking away. Set it up.
Nothing else? We'll move on to old business. Item A is a resolution approving professional service agreement with Bolton and Menk for downtown improvements phase 1 construction services. This is for them to oversee the work that is happening, or going to start happening on the downtown improvement project. Can I have a motion, please?
Motion to receive resolution approving the professional service agreement with Bolton and Mink for the downtown improvement phase 1 construction services.
Discussion.
I'll start by saying this is $250 under the. Pretty close,
That almost covers that underground, doesn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, this should take us all the way through the start of construction, from pre-construction through the construction period, cover the environmental needs while the construction process is going on, as well as all the coordination for all the different funding sources, If you remember, there's water quality initiative funding being used downtown. We have Environmental Protection Agency funds at downtown, which is a new funding source and has quite a few requirements as part of reporting on that. And then we also have CDBG, Highway Economic Development. Yeah, so we had to go through EPA for our plan. So overall, we're giving us as well as we have to close out. Pre-construction meeting, we'll probably have them sometime here in the next 2-week window. Conversations with the contractor. They want to wrap up a couple of projects they're on now to fully commit themselves to this. They want to have the pre-construction meeting as close as they can to the start of their construction. So we're working on kind of scheduling out the pre-construction at this point, and then we get an idea of what they're anticipating for schedule between the start and how much they anticipate they'll get done here in the first part of the first phases. In addition to that, somewhere in between that pre-construction meeting before they start, we'll look at having another public information meeting so the impacted business owners and everybody, one, get to meet who our field inspector will be, so there's a familiar face, somebody they're comfortable showing up and talking to, as well as a familiar face for the contractor. So kind of get some introduction for everybody who's going to be intimate with the downtown for the next 18 months.
So is this a situation, are they trying to start demo and ripping out alley and stuff like that before freeze? Is that?
That's what we're anticipating. Yeah. They'll look at trying to get the first phase coming from Wells Fargo down to Warford. We would anticipate, honestly, anybody that's going to be successfully hit the completion date on that will have to do that this fall. I don't see from years of experience how you would be able to do all that in one construction season.
Questions? Discussion?
Your thought.
Okay. No further discussion, then we'll have a.
Mahler,
Yes.
Klein, yes, Shelley,
Yes.
Okay, item B is a resolution authorizing the return of unauthorized funds to Gabby contract number CNTR 200005810. This was from for redoing the terminal building out at the airport, and we decided that, or it was decided that that building could not really do remodeled the way we thought it could be. So we finally get money back to decide what we're gonna do out of it. We have motion, please.
The resolution authorizing return of.
Yeah, second? Discussion.
So the building, they figured that building was just pretty far gone and.
Here can give the
Yeah.
full synopsis.
So,
He has very intimate knowledge of the project.
little background. So got a 2023 Gavi grant from the DOT. And started down the design path, and the intent and the way that the grant is written is that it is for expanding the existing terminal. So had structural engineer come out and look at everything. We started going through the process of doing layouts, design, got something decided on, and as soon as he kind of took a look at the existing structure, he said, well, I don't know what it's constructed of, and there's no documentation of what the walls were constructed of. So he said that for him to sign something, he could increase the load by no more than like 10%, and we would be well above that. So we went back and forth trying to figure things out, and then came to the conclusion that, all right, maybe we can't expand. So we asked the DOT for an amendment to build a new building. So got the amendment. You guys approved that about a month or 2 months ago. So with that, at commission meetings, we looked at, all right, where can we put the building? What makes the most sense? And then it morphed into a different kind of conversation about, well, what does the frontage of the apron look like? What does the overall build out of the whole terminal area look like for future hangars and other facilities? And it kind of came down to, well, we don't know exactly what's gonna work best up on the face of the hangar, whether that's, Stein has a 100 by 100 hangar. Is it more of those? Is it more with terminal attached? Is it a standalone building? What happens to the fuel farm, which the only available space right now is right behind the fuel farm? So, is there an intent or possibility of constructing a new facility and then expanding that? And what does that do to future development in the area? There's multiple things at play. And so we got a general concept down of kind of what we think, but it's still up in the air and definitely under all pending FAA review. Then we thought, all right, well, what if you just rehab your existing building? Just Azure, maybe add a vestibule on the one side. And so we ran that by the DOT, who's been keeping in the loop issue every step of the way. And he said, well, rehabbing versus building a new building is two completely different situations. So he said, I'll have to ask his bosses, and if they think it's appropriate, then they would take it to the DOT commission and they would say yes or no. And so he went ahead and did that, and they had come to the consensus that no, the rehabilitating the building strictly would not be eligible for grant funds. So all those things combined kind of came to the conclusion that the group that maybe this isn't the right building to try and stuff $300,000 into when we don't know exactly what's going to happen with it in the future. Is that the responsible thing to do? How would that look in the eyes of the DOT that we spend 300 grand of their money and then, oh, yeah, no, we're going to tear it down and move it, or we put it in a place that isn't the best fit, which we're trying to explore and figure out what that frontage looks like. So reluctantly, the commission voted to give back the grant funds. Now, one question that might come up is, what does that do with the future funding you might receive from the DOT? Answer is nothing. Shane has been kept in the loop through this whole process. Every step of the way, we've let him know what the roadblocks were, why we're trying to do certain things, understands the efforts that we've gone to, and has said, this is not a black eye by any means on the city in terms of applying for and receiving future funds. So it's nothing to be overly concerned about. There have been plenty of grants that have been returned to the DOT in the past, and those sponsors have still gotten the same consideration level of funding that I would expect you guys to get in the future. So yeah, it's not what anybody wanted at the time of applying for or receiving the grant. That's kind of the way the cards fell, and for more or less the responsible way to do things and responsible way to spend money, it's probably the right thing to do to get back. So correct. Everything that any funds that have been expenses that have been incurred are all eligible for reimbursement through that same grant. So it's not returning the full amount; it's returning less whatever has been spent has been out.
So what do you think is gonna happen with the building? Gonna tear it down?
No, I mean, it'll remain in service. It's still an operable building. It just doesn't meet the needs and doesn't fit, ADA standards. And I mean, there's things that can be done in the short term to kind of work around that. However, Shane did also say that if we were to, come to a consensus that, yep, this is the thing we want to do. If we applied for a same or similar grant in the future, he said it would score very high. So the chance of doing this again when we're a little bit more prepared, which, I mean, we could get to the end of this kind of planning deal and be like, all right, well, let's just go for it again next year. It would be, it would score the same. He would look at it the same way as he did the first time, which it scored very well because it's lacking those things. But in the short term, it is still a viable building that the airport can operate on, still be used by the public. There's no, as far as I know, major concerns with the structural integrity of it. We just can't rehabilitate it.
Just to be 100%. So that money will no longer be earmarked for us. We will return it and it will go back into their coffers and not earmarked for us, but we have a verbal agreement that when we do come to a conclusion about what we're going to do, that our projects is scope pretty high and we shouldn't have any problem
Yeah,
getting that
it's-
money back.
Right, it's not a guarantee, not like the DOT funding, specifically Gabby programs are very competitive. So it really comes down very heavily to scoring, but this kind of a project where you have a building that is not sufficient and you want to rehab it, or you need to do something new, that score is very. So it's by no means a guarantee, but it is, giving this back is not a black eye by any means.
Kelly.
Yes.
Molly.
Yes.
Stein.
Yes.
Okay, item C is approval of Jack's number 13 for the CDBG contract number 23 HSG 004. Measures building downtown for $15,051. Building at 1306. Okay, motion.
Number 13, the CDBG contract number 23.
Yes. It was for 560 some thousand, and I think this is probably about 350,000 of it, so they're 2/3 of the way done. When Harley came in and talked to us, they were right at that, so. Three, one better. No further discussion? Roll call please.
Stein. Yes. Molly.
Okay, item D is approval of pay application number 10, for the Iowa Street Stormwater Wetland. It's for the amount of $56,183.46 to Sandstone Management Limited. Was for complete mulch and erosion control matting. This gets them to approximately 100% complete. And so this will pay that out, but then we'll still have to close out once they meet their requirements, and we can worry about the retention at that time. Motion, please.
Make a motion, we approve pay application number 10 for Iowa Street Stormwater Wetland.
I'll second.
Discussion.
A lot of this payment here is balancing out the project. So a lot of the seeding, the erosion control matting to stabilize those slopes, they did come back in and reseed the native grasses that were incorrectly placed originally. There's some additional grading that was done along the DOT right away there of 141, so that cleaned that up. And I think there was the last 10% of the helical bridge, they got all the cables recorrected, fastened and tightened up on that bridge system. So a lot of the stuff that's remaining is touching up some seeding areas that aren't coming in properly. So when we said it's nearly 100%, they've done the work, but it hasn't come in properly. So it's more under that warranty component of maintaining and making sure that grass seed does come in properly.
And has anybody been down at the end of it during all these rains and watching the flow coming out? Because the level sure seems to fluctuate and takes its time coming back down, but stays within the banks. So
That's what Ian Spencer
seems to be
talked
working well.
about. It bounced up about 2.5, 3 feet, and then throughout the day, it slowly went back down. So
When I think the last large rain, when I drove by in the morning, it was almost up to the trail. And then a few hours later, it already gone down a little bit. So definitely doing what it is designed to do.
I'd love to pop that manhole on Willis to see how the hydraulics work.
Yeah.
I don't know if Matt has, but I know that's where the project began, is watching the hydraulic shift in the system. So.
For the discussion? Roll call.
Stein. Yes. Kelly.
Okay, on to new business. Item A is a resolution authorizing the adoption of the Guardian Angel personal safety light policy to the personal protective equipment policy for city employees. So I think we're gonna get a demonstration on the light itself. But this is, we received some of these, and it's just gonna be how they're gonna be used and when and what for. So could I have a motion, please?
Motion to approve item A, resolution authorizing the application of the Guardian Angel personal safety lights policy to the personal protective equipment policy. and city code.
Second that.
So, that's what they're, record, but also.
One thing that we look at every year is the ICAP, our casualty insurance puts out $1,000 grant. That's how we've gotten the AG. Actually, like that. And one of the things we wanted to do was there's it's called a Guardian Angel. And what these are lights, and I can turn it on to show you. They're very, very bright. Okay. This is what you would wear on your shoulder. I believe most of the police officers have them. Is that correct? Yes, and they act as a light to be able to see, but also a warning light. So if you're out in traffic, the reason is there's a lot of people that get hit in the roadways, and this is to help prevent those. So with our grant, we were able to get 10 of these Guardian lights. Gave 2 to Public Works. Or fire department, and then we had 3 at Public Works, and then, okay, yep. And 3, yeah, Public Works got 3, the police department got 3, and fire got 4 of these units. Yeah, you can. I know a lot of the officers have those, so they're different colors for different departments. So like police and fire are obviously blue and red. Public Works, I brought a Public Works one there. They're the amber and the white. So what we're wanting to do is just with everyone working out in the traffic, especially with 2 highways in town, I've almost gotten smoked several times. You know, I know all of our guys have, you know, in the fire department, stuff like that. I think they were gonna leave theirs in like the rescue vehicle to where they could flip them on, like it, not individually, but like have them in the truck so that if they go out on a call, they can grab that. So one thing we talked about during the safety committee and Brad Bankston from our insurance agent recommended a letter be sent on our behalf asking that these lights be considered part of PPE, so personal protective equipment, where the city would provide these to employees in departments that would need them. They're about $100 a piece, very minimal. You charge them, they last a very long time. They're super bright. They're become a very popular thing. Actually, they make all different ones. A lot of people wear them jogging, bike riding, stuff like that. So that's what we're asking from a safety committee standpoint is, you know, to adopt these to allow department heads to purchase those out of their budget for employees that need them. Do you have anything to add, Jim?
They're just a really good device to have, but just brings added attention to those people along the side of the road. Now I've instructed my officers that obviously if they're on the highway on a traffic accident or something like that, this isn't a replacement for the vests that we wear. Because, you know, you have a lot of flashing lights out there and another flashing light doesn't necessarily keep you safe. But those reflective vests are very visible, but this just adds to that protection out there. And obviously our street department guys are in the streets an awful lot working, so that just gives them an added, even during the daytime. I mean, you know, a lot of our stuff happens at night or afternoon when there's lots of cars and that kind of thing, but they're as bright as they are, you will be able to see them during the day too. So it's just another device to keep everybody safe. Yeah.
That last windstorm we had a couple months ago or whatever, you know, there was 5 of us in here, and I mean, power was knocked out all over town. And I mean, it was raining so hard you couldn't even see. I would have loved to have something like this, you know, because you're trying to move limbs or whatever, but you're trying to hold a flashlight because you could not see. You know, we have several lights and stuff on our trucks and stuff like that, but just an extra piece of equipment, I think, for everyone. And so that's our request, is to have those added. So.
Josh, a couple things.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I
Yeah.
think it's awesome. Do they come with a warranty? Like how long is this plan? How long does this, what's its planned obsolescence? That's my question.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
Some of our guys have
Cool.
no problem.
And they seem pretty sturdy, durable.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about charging stations? Do you have them in shops or just in the vehicles? Like where do they
So
get?
we got 3 from this ICAP grant. We have them in our office at the shop.
Okay.
So that way, if somebody got called out, they could grab them.
Grab it and take it as
If we,
they go.
if we do pass making them be PPE, I will probably purchase more and probably put one in all of our pickup trucks, just on the.
That's
bike.
kind of, yeah, that's kind of.
They literally plug in and they, I want to, I mean, it's like forever they stay charged, right?
Our officers attach them to their vests.
And do you have
so
charging
so they
stations?
take them home and they have an
Okay.
inbuilt charger.
Yep, they just
Yeah.
plug in a
So,
USB.
okay, cool.
And I think another thing that brought this up was a lot of the officers have been buying these themselves out of their own pockets, you know, and that's kind of a thing that got brought up was like, hey, should this be PPE? And we kind of talked about it at safety meeting and they're like, everyone was like, I absolutely, I believe it should, so.
What is the cost per unit?
$100, so. Yeah. I think we get like a little bit of a government rate. I think they're normally like 130. These were 100 each. They make different styles and stuff, so.
I got one more question. Is this 46 emergency responders fatally struck? Is that in Iowa or national?
National,
Thank God. That's a scary
a
number.
lot of people.
Yeah. You want anything back? Is that mine?
Maybe I could see one of those trail cams.
Hey, yep, yep.
Know exactly where it went. Okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Ellie,
Yes.
Smaller.
Yes.
Klein,
Yes,
Okay. Item D is resolution authorizing the service station of public notice for council intention to fill a vacancy by appointment. So as it says, our council member at large, Chuck Schott, will be resigning. He's going to be moving to Des Moines. And so first of all, I'd like to really thank Chuck for his service and he had 15 years and wish him and Katie all the best moving forward. But anyone wishing to fill that spot for the remainder of his term needs to let us know by 6 p.m. Tuesday, September 2nd.
That's the,
Oh, okay, that's when.
you'll need
okay.
to let, please provide documents to the city clerk by noon on August 28th, which is a Thursday.
Okay, and then we will appoint somebody at our council meeting, the next one at September 2nd, or the first one of September. And then that person will have to run in the fall election, so they'd have by September 18th to get the 50 signatures required and get their name on the ballot to run for that position. So could I have a motion, please?
I make a motion, we approve resolution authorizing the publication of public notice for the council's intention to fill a vacancy by appointment.
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion?
If if whoever is appointed does not complete their paperwork, the position would still be on the ballot as a still vacancy, like what you went through. It would just be blank, so then it would at that point be a write-in.
And it's at large, so the 50 signatures come from anywhere in town, not just a single ward, so. And we can help fill you in on what is required, because a number of us had done it before, so. Okay, any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Klein,
Yes,
Smaller,
Yes.
Shelley.
Yes.
Okay, we'll go on to ordinance. This is going to be the first reading for an ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances, Chapter 116, the airport. So the new ordinance has been approved by the FAA and by the Airport Commission, being met on July 14th, 2025. These first readings, you can have a motion, please.
Motion approved, I will take reading for ordinance changes. Chapter 116.
Okay, discussion.
In addition to the new chapter that got probably 2 months ago. just add the subsection that we kind of talked about then, which is the rules and regulations, what was initially done for creation of the chapter and standards, now the second piece is the rules and regulation. And show you everything that's inside of it.
The minimum standards were more, if you are a individual or business, or if you have private or commercial desires to use the airport, make money, not make money, but run a business. What they need to act that you to make that happen. And then what the city is responsible for versus what the potential user is responsible for, what you want your hangar finishes to look like. Governing the things, this is governing what people can and can't do. So just a couple examples. What people are supposed to be doing when operating an aircraft, what they're supposed to be doing when they're on the apron, what they're not supposed to be doing when they're on the apron. Self-servicing, fueling is a big one. Some of them are pretty no-brainer points, like no smoking while filling your aircraft. But there's a couple things in here that are pretty specific, that are very, I guess, really specific to airports. Then any kind of special events that people want to hold out there, the method for going about doing that, requesting any spaces, pedestrians and animals on the airfield, what you can and can't do. And then very clearly points out at the beginning, who has authority. So in this document, the one thing that the FAA mentioned is don't take any authority away from the sponsor of the city. So any reference to the airport commission, we took out because they're a part of the city, but that seemed to really confuse the FAA. So even though they're going to be out there more often than y'all would, they can still come to you and say, we got to do something about this. But Jack, being the airport manager, has full authority to act on behalf of the city. So yeah, it'll be good to get this in place. And I think that's the two primary guiding documents that you really want to have established, especially since there's continued development happening at the airport, and people are wanting to come to Perry, wanting to base their aircraft and build. So.
Thank you. Further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Shelley? Yes. Molly?
Yes.
Okay, so we will have the second, possibly third reading of that one at our next meeting. But with that, we will adjourn.